The Book of the Damned, by Charles Hoyfort, Chapter 14J. So the textbooks, with no especial cleverness, because no especial cleverness is needed, led the reader into contempt for the amateur of augurs, and forgetfulness of Leverrier, and some other subject is taken up. But our own acceptance, that these data are as good as ever they were, that if someone of eminence should predict an earthquake, and if there should be no earthquake at the predicted time, that would discredit the prophet, but data of past earthquakes would remain as good as ever they had been. It is easy enough to smile at the illusion of a single amateur. The mass formation, Fritsch, Stark, D. Cuppus, Seibotham, Lecarbo, Lummis, Gruithinson, De Vico, Scott, Ray, Russell, Hind, Lowe, Cambray, Weber, Standotter, Lichtenberg, Angos, Hoffman, Schmidt, Loft, Steinibel, Pastorff. These are only the observations conventionally listed relatively to an intramercurial planet. They are formidable enough to prevent our being diverted, as if it were all the dream of a lonely amateur, but they are mere advance guard. From now on other data of large celestial bodies, some dark and some reflecting light, will pass and keep on passing, so that some of us will remember a thing or two, after the procession's over, possibly, taking up only one of the listed observations. Or our impression of the discrediting of Leverrier has nothing to do with the acceptability of these data. In the London Times, January 10, 1860, is Benjamin Scott's account of his observation, that, in the summer of 1847, he had seen a body that had seemed to be the size of Venus, crossing the sun. He says that, hardly believing the evidence of his sense of sight, he had looked for someone whose hopes or ambitions would not make him so subject to illusion. He had told his little son, aged 5 years, to look through the telescope. The child had exclaimed that he had seen a little balloon crossing the sun. Scott says that he had not had sufficient self-reliance to make public announcement of his remarkable observation at the time, but that, in the evening of the same day, he had told Dr. Dick, Fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society, who had cited other instances. In the Times, January 12, 1860, is published a letter from Richard Abbott, Fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society, that he remembered Mr. Scott's letter to him upon this observation, at the time of the occurrence,